All right, so get this. We're diving deep into this idea of a civilization of sand.
Okay.
Sounds a little bit like a beach vacation at first, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But hold on, because it gets way more interesting than that. We're talking about North Stradbroke Island, Minjerribah.
Yeah.
That was the coast of Australia.
Yeah.
And this place is absolutely packed with all sorts of valuable minerals. And some folks are saying that it could actually hold the key to a whole new way of living.
Yeah, what's really intriguing is that Sibelco, the company that used to run a sand mine on Strati, they're having this like big offline get-together, I guess you could call it. It's in Spruce Pine, USA in 2024.
Interesting.
And now why spruce pine? That's the question. Spruce pine is known for its mineral wealth too.
Right.
So it kind of makes you wonder, are they cooking up something, related to Strati's resources?
Oh, I like that. Like a little puzzle piece we got to figure out.
Yeah.
And get this, for this deep dive, we've got a scientific paper that predicts some seriously wild solar activity. We're talking like solar micronova level wild. And then on top of that, we've got this other document called Civilization of Sand, which lays out a vision for how Strati could actually become this incredible self-sufficient community.
Yeah.
So we've got this crazy mix of kind of doom and gloom and then hope. And I don't know. I'm hooked already. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think the connection there seems to be about resilience, right? So, if these predictions about solar events and things like that are accurate, then we'd need some pretty serious backup plans.
Right.
And that's where I think Strati comes in. Because the idea is that the mineral wealth there, coupled with some of these, really cutting-edge ideas we're going to discuss, could actually make it a blueprint for not just surviving, but thriving in a dramatically changed world.
Okay, you definitely got me more curious now.
All right.
So let's start with the Civilization of Sand document.
Okay.
And this island's unique potential. Like, what is it about Strati that makes it so special when we're talking about minerals?
Well, the sand on this island, it's not just your average beach sand. It's got this really unique mix of minerals.
Okay.
We're talking quartz, ilmenite, rutile, zircon, and even monazite.
Wow.
And each of these has its own, special use and potential. And when you put them all together, you've got this incredible toolkit for building a self-reliant society.
Okay, so it's like a one-stop shop for civilization building.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, well, break it down for me. What's so valuable about each one of these minerals?
Okay, well, think of it this way. Quartz is pure silicon dioxide, so it's perfect for things like making solar panels.
Okay.
Ilmenite and rutile, those are both sources of titanium, which is incredibly strong, light, and it can be used for everything from paint to spacecraft. Zircon, that's where you get zirconium, and we use that in nuclear reactors. And then you've got monazite. And that's the one that holds rare earth elements, which are key to, all sorts of advanced tech, like magnets and electronics.
It's almost like Strati's sand has everything you would need to create, like a high-tech society from scratch. We're talking about energy. We're talking about construction materials, advanced tech. This is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, and it's not just the variety, it's the sheer abundance of these minerals on Strati.
Right.
The Civilization of Sand document argues that, this concentrated wealth could be a real game changer. It allows for this hyper-local manufacturing and minimizes reliance on global supply chains, which, we all know can be a bit fragile these days.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're not just talking about surviving, but potentially like leapfrogging ahead in terms of technology and sustainability. It's like Strati is this hidden treasure chest just waiting to be unlocked.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get too carried away with the possibilities, we do need to, address the elephant in the room. Those solar predictions that we mentioned earlier.
Right.
The 2022 supplement to the next End of the World paper, it paints a pretty stark picture of potential events triggered by increased solar activity.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So we're talking about more than just your average solar flares, right?
Right.
This document specifically mentions something called a solar micronova.
Yeah. And while, the scientific community is still debating the likelihood of an event like that, the potential consequences are really significant.
Okay.
Imagine massive disruptions to our electrical grids, satellites, even our communication systems. It would be like a global reset button of sorts.
Whoa. That's some heady stuff.
Yeah.
But it also kind of puts the idea of a self-sufficient civilization on Strati into a whole new perspective.
Right.
Because if the world as we know it were to be disrupted, a place like that could become a vital refuge, really.
Exactly. And that's where this whole idea of Kardashev's subterranean eco-cities comes in.
Okay.
So think, like self-sustaining cities built underground, shielded from whatever harsh conditions might be happening on the surface.
Okay.
And with Strati's mineral wealth, they could have everything they need to not just survive, but thrive.
But we're talking about going full mole people, but like with a high-tech, eco-conscious twist.
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, it's starting to sound a little bit like a sci-fi novel, but I'm kind of loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does have that, that futuristic feel to it. But I think the idea is grounded in practicality, too.
Okay.
Imagine, utilizing Strati's resources to create energy-efficient, climate-controlled environments underground. They could even harness geothermal energy, grow food in hydroponic farms.
Right.
It's about creating this closed-loop system that's resilient to, whatever external shocks might come its way.
It's wild to think that something as like simple as sand could be the key to a whole new way of life.
I know.
But how do we actually get from like sand dunes to subterranean cities? Like, is there somebody out there that actually has a plan for all of this?
There is. And it involves a pretty radical reimagining of how we approach mining.
So,
The Civilization of Sand document introduces us to a guy named Luke Hayes. And he proposes a new method. He calls it eco-subterranean mining. And his idea is to extract these resources in a way that minimizes the environmental impact, but maximizes the benefit for the local community.
okay, I'm all for eco-friendly mining, but how does that actually work underground? And
Yeah.
how does that tie into this whole vision of a self-sufficient civilization?
That's where it gets really interesting. Hayes argues that by shifting the manufacturing underground, you can create this totally closed loop system.
Right.
Instead of exporting raw materials, you use them locally to create finished products. And the only thing you export is clean energy generated from, all those abundant resources on Strati.
So we're talking about a complete paradigm shift here.
Yeah.
Instead of being a resource colony, Strati becomes this hub of innovation and sustainability,
Yeah.
potentially even like powering other regions with clean energy. That's a pretty powerful vision.
It is. And it's one that really challenges our assumptions about what's possible. But before we, get too deep into the how, let's take a step back and consider the why for a second.
Okay.
What are the driving forces behind this vision of a civilization of sand?
All right, back to the big picture. Why should we care about all of this? What makes this vision so compelling?
Well, it's about more than just surviving a potential, disaster.
Right.
It's about building a better future, one that's resilient, sustainable, and frankly, I think really cool. Think about it. What if we could actually create a society that wasn't so reliant on all these fragile global systems?
Yeah.
What if we could design a way of life that actually works with nature, not against it?
I'm getting this image in my head, like this hidden oasis
Yeah.
that's thriving while like the world outside is grappling with all this chaos, almost like, I don't know, a futuristic Atlantis,
Yeah.
but with like solar panels and hydroponic gardens instead of mermaids.
Yeah, that's not far off, Remember those Kardashev subterranean eco-cities we were talking about? They're not just like bunkers. They're designed as these vibrant, interconnected spaces with natural light, green spaces, even advanced climate control.
Okay.
Imagine strolling through a park, sunlight filtering down from above,
Right.
all while being completely sheltered from whatever storms might be raging on the surface.
Okay, now that sounds pretty appealing, even without, an apocalypse looming.
Right.
But wouldn't it be incredibly expensive to build something like that?
That's where Strati's mineral wealth becomes such a game changer.
But-
Remember all that quartz we talked about?
Yeah.
It's not just good for solar panels on the surface. It's also perfect for creating, fiber optic cables,
Right.
which could channel natural light deep underground.
Whoa, so we could literally have sunshine underground.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this whole sand civilization could be more than just like survival.
Yep.
It could be like a whole new level of human flourishing.
Yeah. And, let's not forget about Luke Hayes and his innovative approach to mining. He calls it eco-subterranean mining.
Right.
And it's about more than just minimizing environmental impact.
Yep.
It's about, transforming the way we think about resource extraction altogether.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
How does this eco-subterranean mining actually work? It sounds a bit like an oxymoron to me. Like, how can you dig things up underground and be eco-friendly about it?
Well, it's all about this localized closed loop system. So instead of digging stuff up and shipping it off somewhere else to be processed,
Right.
Hayes proposes doing everything right there on Stratty. Imagine factories built underground, powered by renewable energy,
Right.
turning those raw materials into finished goods.
So it's like taking that whole farm-to-table concept and
Exactly.
applying it to manufacturing.
Yeah.
Everything is sourced and produced locally, minimizing waste and transportation costs. That's pretty brilliant.
And here's the kicker. The only thing that they would export from this underground city is clean energy.
Oh, wow.
Think solar, wind, maybe even geothermal,
Yep.
all powered by Stratty's abundant resources.
Wow. So instead of being a source of raw materials for, other countries to exploit,
Right.
Stratty becomes this powerhouse of clean energy, potentially even like influencing the global energy landscape.
Yeah.
It's a pretty radical shift in power dynamics.
Yeah, it is. It's a vision that really flips the script on what we typically think of when we hear mining.
Right.
Instead of, environmental destruction and exploitation,
Yeah.
it becomes about symbiosis,
Mhm.
working with the land to create a sustainable future.
All right, I'm sold on the why.
No way.
But let's get into the how a little bit more. How do we actually go from this sandy island to this subterranean utopia?
Well, the Civilization of Sand document actually outlines a phased approach.
Okay.
And it starts with the most essential element of any civilization.
Makes sense.
Food security.
Of course, yeah.
They propose building, these high-tech greenhouses powered by renewable energy, capable of growing crops year-round, even underground.
Makes sense. You can't build a civilization on an empty stomach.
Exactly.
So we've got our underground farms going. What's next on the agenda for our sand-powered society?
Next comes building up their manufacturing capabilities. Remember those rare earth elements found in monazite?
Yeah.
Those are essential for all sorts of advanced tech, from high-efficiency electronics to even spacecraft components.
Wow.
The document proposes using these resources to develop a cutting-edge manufacturing sector, all powered by clean energy, of course.
Hold on. We're going from growing carrots to building spaceships.
That's the idea.
That's a pretty impressive leap. It's incredible to think that this tiny island could become a hub for, such advanced technology.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
They also talk about developing, state-of-the-art communication systems, medical facilities,
Right.
even cultural and recreational spaces, all underground, all integrated into this, sustainable ecosystem.
It's like building a microcosm of a thriving society, but beneath the surface.
Exactly.
But here's a question, what about the people?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that everyone benefits from this incredible transformation?
That's a crucial point. And the document really stresses the importance of community engagement and equitable distribution of resources.
Okay.
They propose establishing systems that ensure everyone has access to education, healthcare, and, opportunities to participate in decision-making.
So it's not just about building cool tech and living in a fancy underground bunker.
Right.
It's about creating a society that's, truly fair and just.
Exactly. It's about using technology and innovation to empower people,
Right.
not just to survive, but to thrive.
Throughout this whole conversation,
Yeah.
I've been struck by how this vision of a civilization of sand goes beyond just practicality. It's almost philosophical,
Yeah.
It's like a reimagining of what it means to be human in a world that's constantly changing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's about challenging our assumptions about, what's possible.
Yeah.
About how we relate to our environment.
Right.
And about what kind of future we actually want to create.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah.
We've gone from talking about sand dunes to imagining a thriving subterranean society
I know.
powered by clean energy and, guided by these principles of sustainability and social justice.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
There's still so much to explore. In our final part, we're going to delve deeper into the social, economic, and ethical considerations of actually building this kind of civilization.
Yeah.
We'll examine the potential challenges, the opportunities, and the really big questions that, this vision raises.
All right, listeners, buckle up.
Yeah.
We're about to enter the final phase of our deep dive into the civilization of sand. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore the heart and soul of this bold vision for the future.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the civilization of sand. We've explored the incredible potential of North Stradbroke Island. Its unique mineral resources, that whole vision for those sustainable subterranean cities, and then that really kind of radical idea of eco-subterranean mining. I don't know about you, but it's a lot to take in, right?
It is,
Yeah.
but it's also incredibly exciting, right? We're talking about a potential paradigm shift here,
Yeah.
a reimagining of how we live, how we work, and how we relate to our planet, really.
You know what's really sticking with me? This idea of joyful, responsible abundance that we kind of touched on earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just about survival or even sustainability. It's about creating a society where people can genuinely thrive, which I think is really cool.
Right, and I think that's what sets this vision apart. It's not just about building a high-tech bunker to weather the storm. It's about creating a society that prioritizes, well-being, connection, and a deep respect for the environment. Okay, so how do we actually create that? What are the key ingredients for a joyful, responsible, and abundant society, especially one built underground?
Community is essential.
Right.
The Civilization of Sand document talks about designing spaces that, actually encourage interaction and collaboration. Imagine community gardens, shared workshops, even underground parks where people can connect and enjoy nature.
I love that. It's like taking the best aspects of village life and
Mm.
weaving them into this futuristic underground setting. But how do we prevent it from, like, feeling isolated,
Right.
cut off from the rest of the world?
That's where technology comes in.
Okay.
Remember that idea of a community radio and TV station we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
That could be a way to, share stories, information, local talent.
Right.
It could foster a sense of belonging and connection.
Yeah, and we could take it even further with things like virtual reality.
Yeah.
Imagine creating these like virtual spaces where people can interact, learn, and even experience the world beyond the physical confines of the underground city. It's like having a window to the outside world, but without the actual window. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it ties into another crucial element, too, lifelong learning and personal growth.
Okay.
Imagine having access to a vast library of knowledge, online courses, even virtual mentors, all from, the comfort of your underground dwelling. It's about fostering a culture of curiosity and continuous learning.
So it's not just about meeting your basic needs, but it's about creating an environment where people are encouraged to explore their passions, learn new things, and even contribute their unique talents to the community.
Precisely. And that brings us to another really important aspect, governance and decision making.
Right.
How do we ensure that everyone has a voice in shaping the future of this civilization?
Yeah, that's a big one. We talked about the potential of gamified democracy to, make civic engagement more accessible and fun. Imagine voting on proposals, participating in debates, and even contributing to policymaking through interactive games and simulations.
It's a way to make democracy more engaging, transparent, and responsive to the needs of the community. And, with the security and immutability of blockchain technology, we could create a system that's really resistant to, corruption and manipulation.
It's incredible to think that something that started as a conversation about sand has evolved into this vision for a truly equitable and empowering society.
I know, it's amazing.
But let's be real for a moment here.
Okay.
Building any civilization, even a small-scale one, is going to be a massive undertaking. What are some of the challenges we might face?
Well, there's the obvious technical challenge of actually building and maintaining a subterranean city.
Yeah.
Think about things like ventilation, waste management,
Right.
ensuring a reliable energy supply, all of that.
And let's not forget the human element. Even with the best intentions, conflicts are bound to arise. How do we create a system for resolving disputes and ensuring that everyone feels heard and respected?
Those are all valid concerns. And that's where, adaptability and resilience really come in. This vision isn't about creating some, perfect utopia.
Right.
It's about building a community that's flexible, that's willing to learn from their mistakes, and is committed to continuous improvement.
So it's about embracing the journey, knowing that there will be bumps along the way, but staying focused on the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
Creating a society that's not just sustainable, but truly joyful and fulfilling.
Exactly. And remember, we don't have to do it all at once. We can start small, experiment with new ideas, and learn as we go.
That's a really empowering message. It's about taking that first step, even if it's just a small one, and believing that a better future is possible.
And who knows, maybe this vision of a civilization of sand will inspire others to, reimagine what's possible in their own communities.
I hope so. This deep dive has been an incredible journey. We went from exploring the potential of this tiny island to envisioning a whole new way of living.
It has been, hasn't it?
It's been a pleasure sharing this exploration with you and all of our listeners out there.
Likewise.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, let's leave our listeners with this final thought. What if the future isn't something that just happens to us, but something we actively create? One grain of sand, one idea, one community at a time.
What a beautiful and inspiring way to end our journey. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in the power of human ingenuity to shape a better future.